All right, so we'll start recording. And we are in week 4 now. So we didn't get to adaptive leadership. We're going to start with this, take 20, 30 minutes, and then we're going to move into land nav. So with the leadership, it's adaptive leaders in history. Who's this? Jeanne d'Arc from Orleans. What happened to her?
She got burned.
Burned at the stake. Okay, so you want to change history? All right, she helped them win that siege at Orleans, and then she died for it. So her own people turned against him. Who's this?
Napoleon.
Napoleon changed warfare in the 1800s. Basically, took over all of Europe. What happened to him?
He died.
He died. Well, everyone's dead on this day. What actually happened to him?
He got exiled.
Gets exiled, right? So, again, adaptive transformative leader is great until you start losing, and then feel like you got. So his thing was, have you heard of levy en masse? Levy en masse, okay. It's French, so to levy would be to bring something up, and then en masse is mass amount of people. He took people from the population, like citizens, and turned them into soldiers quickly. He started, have you heard S1, S2, S3, S4? Have you heard those?
Like supplies.
Supply, personnel, operations, intel, right? That was a French system, so that's him. That's huge and adaptive. Otherwise, he was just like, I'm a captain. He's like, all right, captain, you're in charge of this. So we actually got funneled into that system. That's pretty much because of him. Basically, and then the way they would fight at that time was you would have stocks or magazines. They're called magazines. That's where you'd stockpile all of your weapons and ammo for whatever little kingdom you had. And they all use the same kind of black powder. And so what he would do, that would restrict you at the time. I can only go so far away from that before I have to go back and resupply. So I can't be an expeditionary army. Well, his idea was he would go fight the army with their center of gravity to defeat the army, and then just go take their stocks and then move on to the next. Right? That's how he was able to campaign. He was just taking everyone else's stuff after defeating them. That was huge and revolutionary, adaptive. And so the reason he lost was he'd been doing that for a decade, and the Russians, with some other soldiers from other places, realized that that's how he fought the war. So he's going to Moscow. He's marching on Moscow, and the Russians just burn Moscow to the ground themselves, and they just peace out. So he shows up. There's no supplies, and everyone just starves to death. Napoleon's whole army starves to death. So you can adapt. You can do great, but then the enemy's going to adapt to you too. And again, so that's with the army way. We're always constantly trying to innovate and adapt. Right? That's a lesson taken from that. And who's this guy? George Washington, Jorge Washington, our founding father, our 6-star general, our Lord and Savior. No, right. Adaptive leader. So he fought with the British in the 7 Years' War against the Indians and the French. Learned some hit and run tactics. Then, as they're adapting, when they started the revolution, they were losing almost all their battles. So then he starts integrating the militia with his continental force and a lot of hit and run tactics. It took 7 years, but he did it. So you adapt to what you are given in order to win. All right, so we got a lot of videos with this one. I'm going to save this one. This one's about, like demotivating. It's about a DMV. This guy's having a terrible time at DMV. Have y'all experienced the DMV yet? Basically, a new guy gets hired, so he's the new leader. He starts cross-training people, and basically he changes the culture of the DMV. That guy, of that specific DMV. The rest of them are still terrible. But again, the point of it is that a leader can affect his or her culture in their unit. So you don't have to watch that video now. Distinguish adaptive leader characteristics, infer value of adaptive leader factors, analyze adaptive leaders. All right. Have you seen We Were Soldiers? It's a movie.
Yes, I think so.
Mel Gibson, Vietnam. Okay. This is the guy that Mel Gibson is portraying. Like, this is the real dude. He became a lieutenant general, a three-star general. At the time, he was a brigade commander and a colonel. So this is his, after 30 years of service, this is what he believes being an adaptive leader is. So we're going to listen to this and hopefully it plays.
There are 4 principles for a leader's conduct in battle. The first is 3 strikes and you're not out. There are 2 things a leader can do. Either contaminate his environment and the unit with his attitude and actions, or he can inspire confidence. He must be visible on the battlefield. He must be in the battle. Battalion commander on down. Brigade and division commander on occasion. Self-confident, positive attitude. He must exhibit his determination to prevail no matter what the odds or how desperate the situation. He must have and display the will to win by his actions, his words, the tone of his voice on the radio and face-to-face, his appearance, his demeanor, his countenance, the look in his eyes. He must remain calm and cool, no fear. He must ignore the noise, the dust, smoke, explosions, the screams of the wounded, the yells, the dead lying around him. That is all normal. He must never give off any hint or evidence that he's uncertain about a positive outcome, even in the most desperate situations. Again, the principle which must be driven into your head and the heads of your men is 3 strikes and you're not out. And the corollary principle, which is interactive with the 1, is there's always one more thing you can do to influence any situation in your favor. And after that, one more thing, and after that, one more thing, etc., etc. In battle, I periodically detached myself mentally for a few seconds from the noise, the screams of the wounded, the explosions, the yelling, the smoke and the dust, and the intensity of it all, and asked myself, what am I doing that I should not be doing? And what am I not doing that I should be doing to influence the situation in my favor? The third principle is, when there's nothing wrong except there's nothing wrong. That's exactly when a leader must be most alert. And finally, number 4, trust your instincts. In critical, fast-moving battlefield situations, instinct and intuition amount to an instant estimate of the situation. Your instincts are the product of your education, your reading, personality, and your experience. Trust your instincts. When seconds count, instincts and decisiveness come into play. In quick developing situations, the leader must act fast, impart confidence to all around him, must not second-guess the decision, make it happen. In the process, he cannot stand around slack-jawed when he's hit with the unexpected. He must face up to the facts, deal with them, and move on.
Okay, so the first part of that, we would normally say, don't be a cancer to the unit, okay? If you are toxic, you are negative, that shows your people show, and that, because you are the leader, will spread to the rest of your formation, okay? Negativity is, it's not a force multiplier, right? It's a force divider. And it is a sure way to get you fired and relieved and maybe kicked out of the army. So, don't be negative, or negative Nancy or whatever. Like, that's a big one. That's super, super important. You don't have to be a cheerleader, but you need to have or display confidence and optimism that you are going to get the job done. And again, negativity, that's the worst thing you can do to your unit. What else are you talking about? 4 principles. That was one of them.
3 strikes and you're not out.
Okay, it was me.
It meant that even if you've made mistakes, you have to keep going.
Sure. Yeah, don't give up. Persevere, right? Two more.
Something's wrong if nothing's wrong, or something like that.
That would be vigilance. So if you're only in a team of 4, if nothing's wrong, that's fine. But when you start managing 100 people or more, someone's always doing something wrong. He might be kind of alluding to like it's all quiet before the first shot. Oh, I don't hear anything. They've been walking into an ambush, but be vigilant. It is an important thing, right? It's just I feel something's wrong. Okay, he goes into that one too. The instincts. You all have your instincts, whether they're good or not. You do have instincts, and if you feel something's wrong, then you gotta do something about it. And then he had one more. What was another big one?
There's always one more thing that can be done.
Okay.
And then one more after that.
Okay, so it's we would say always improving your foxhole. Your foxhole is dependent on your position. If you're a platoon leader, you're gonna have a foxhole, and it's as simple as that, right? I guess before we move on, how deep is your foxhole?
Not deep enough.
No. Yeah, you did way too far. 20 feet is down. Okay, what do you got? Anything else? Okay, so the chest of the tallest man in the formation. Okay, because you are digging a foxhole not just for you, but someone else can occupy. Right, you're in and out. So you go to the chest of the tallest man. And the reason you go to the chest is because when you fire a rifle, you don't want to have to be hunched down. You want to just be able to stand up. Okay, so it's again that's if you go to infantry, you'll find that on the side. They say anything else? I might have said something else that was
Doing that I should not be doing.
no. Oops, I didn't look like that.
And what am I not doing that I should? Fast-moving battlefield situations in battle, I periodically detached myself. And the corollary principle, which is interactive with the one, is
and he says taking a break too. That's fair. Okay, you take time to assess the situation. Sometimes you need to recalibrate yourself. We've seen other videos where your friend might have got blown up and died, and so, you need to sometimes take a step back. All right. So, anyways, those are his 4 principles. Adaptive leadership, discuss specific leaders who demonstrate adaptive leadership style. I think we did that with Washington and the other people. We're going to come right back to this after we show what these are not the end all be all of leadership characteristics, all right? But these are some, all right? Confidence, resilience, open and curious, driven. You do need to be tolerant, all right? We fight as a team, and we come from all walks of life. People see the world differently, so you have to have a level of tolerance. You need to be self-aware. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How are you coming off right now? Right? What you need to be aware of how people see you. What we argue is it doesn't necessarily matter what's going on in the inside, what you're thinking about. It's what people see, it's what people perceive, and perception is reality. If you're perceived as a jerk, even if you don't think you're a jerk, okay? So you need to be self-aware. You need to take risks. Nothing was ever achieved without risk. Nothing important was ever achieved without risk. You need to be proactive, problem solver, critical thinker, great communicator, technically and tactically proficient, and then an agent of change. Okay, agent of change is you need to have a vision. You need to know how you want to achieve that vision, and then you achieve it. Okay, here's what I want. Here's how I'm going to do it. Now I'm going to do it. You can make all the lists in the world about how you're going to become president one day, but if you never take a step forward towards it, then you're never going to be president. Right? Agent of change. Okay, so I want you to do 2 things, and I'm going to give you guys Probably 5 minutes, okay? Pick out of this list your top 5, and then come to an agreement as to what you think your top 5 is. And then each of you, again, talk amongst yourself, come up with one person who you think is a leader in history, and then tell me why, or tell me examples of how they demonstrated some of these. Okay? If it's George Washington, cool. What did George Washington do? If it's Abraham Lincoln, cool. What did Abraham Lincoln do? What was great about him? And so because there's only 4 of you, I'll have you collaborate, but each of you will choose a person to talk about. All right? So I'm going to set a timer. It's 11:07. You think you can do that in 5 minutes?
Yes.
All right. So you might have missed it. The first one is identify the top 5 of these. All right. And then come up with a leader in history, what they did, and how they showed some of these characteristics. Okay. So 5 minutes.
I can
Need some water up in
for
there.
the top 5. I think risk takers is a big one. Look, even we can see in the picture there. I think change agent might be the most important because that's the actually getting things done part of it. Mm-hmm. That's fair for number 1.
Sure. Okay.
I'll say risk taker is definitely Smith. Definitely.
Problem solver, critical thinker. Yeah.
You think problem solver above risk taker?
I don't know about. Do we have to list them? I
We
thought
have
we
to
have to
prioritize.
rank them. We do.
Yes.
Well, if you can't critically think to a change in situation,
Yes.
Risks to take.
I think critical thinking number 2.
Then risk taker. Then.
Self-aware part kind of stuck out to me because that is like the being aware of what people think, but that's also kind of being aware of what's going on in the chaotic environment. And when
Self-aware.
yeah, self-aware. When he was showing us the thing, because that was the one I think we put a video last year when where you had that officer who just like ran after that guy. In trouble. Yeah, that guy was not self-aware. That guy was not self-aware. Should we say self-aware before?
That's what it sounded like.
Okay, well, we can still talk about that for a while.
I choose Lincoln.
All I can think about right now is that one Hacksaw Ridge.
Private dogs.
Desmond Dogs. That was one name.
Yeah, he does. Even though he was
And
blind.
he was a risk taker.
Yes, yes.
And a critic. What? Oh,
Okay. No, we need to think about it.
dogs.
I can't speak.
Yeah, you ready? She's technically a historical thinker.
She's very driven, very driven. She's a critical thinker. She would criticize stuff all the time. I don't think.
Okay, you ready? I guess. Like, listen out.
Let's take the past I had so.
And power, really?
Actually, a technically professional shit.
All right, you guys got it?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go through the list. What's your top 5?
Our top 5, going from least to greatest. Number 5, we picked driven. Number 4, self-aware. Number 3, risk taker. Number 2, we said problem solver and critical thinker. And what we thought was most important was being a change agent.
All right, so let's do. Y'all have something different, right? It didn't have to be a war person. It could have been anyone. But let's start with you. And who do you got?
I picked Amy Goshright. She was our company commander last year.
Okay.
I think she embodied a lot of things.
Okay. What about her was special?
She wasn't afraid to do things. She would call out things that were stupid, you know, if they were stupid. Which made me think of that critical thinker piece, because she criticized.
Well, critical thinking doesn't mean criticize everything.
Yeah, they're not identical, but there is a part of that in that you're not just conforming to whatever is given to you, and you're thinking about that and consciously rejecting something that's bad. And she would help a lot, not just with the threes who were preparing for camp, but also for us ones. And then she ended up branching aviation. So
Was that the first one that was here today?
yeah, yes.
Okay, so you felt that she was technically proficient. She was proactive. What risks did she take?
I feel like that would more so be her personality. There's not a ton of risks that I think a leader can necessarily take in ROTC, but
right.
I would trust her to take the necessary risks.
Okay. All right. When you think about great leaders and how she earned that right. I mean, nothing against her personally, but like you said, if you're limited by the ROTC, your greatness is inherently limited. So, anyways, all right, next.
I said Private Desmond Doss.
Who's that?
He was like I don't know, he was a medic. Oh, I didn't know he was a medic.
Oh, was that the movie?
It was like, yeah, from
When he goes
Hacksaw
up and
Ridge.
saves all the people.
Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
I think he was a great example of like an adaptive leader. He did take risks, where he kept, even though he was like literally like about to like die, he just kept going back for one more to save someone else's life. I also think he was very driven because he kept going back even though it was a very risky situation. What else is there? I think he also made a great change to the like company he was in. Like he was affecting everyone else by his like actions and like how he was presenting himself to everyone.
Was he leading anybody?
He wasn't leading anybody, but he was making a difference to other people.
So that's not the same thing, right?
I would argue. Last year we learned that not all people in leadership positions are leaders.
No, you're not.
I think he was a leader, just not in a managerial position.
Well, if you're not leading anybody, you're not leading anybody.
Well, he
was
led them by
inspired.
example.
Yeah.
I mean, he might not have been in a leadership role, but like at least in the movie or whatever, like everyone towards the end, where was like very much inspired by him, and
Be inspirational. There's the movie Rudy.
that's a great movie.
Okay, was Rudy the leader?
He was not.
Not a leader, right? You can be inspirational. So leading is about getting other people to follow what you want them to do willingly, right? Leadership. I'm going to convince you to do what I want you to do willingly because I am persuasive, because I make a great argument for whatever reason, all these reasons, driven, tolerant. Again, not to minimize his accomplishments, I would say he does not meet the criteria of great leader. Absolutely great soldier. He pushed forth the idea of pacifism, right? I can still contribute to the mission without taking a life. So, yeah, like I would say very inspirational. By the metric of hacksaw ridge alone, I would say probably not a leader. Okay, I don't know what he did after that. Okay, I didn't, I don't know a lot about him. But if he did something after that where he went back and maybe he was lobbying Congress, became a congressman, and changed laws, right? Those would be big leadership things. So what I would argue is he was not a change agent necessarily. Okay, he's here. Was he a great communicator? I don't think he presented that to me that he communicated anything. Again, saving life, it's great. Risk taker, self-aware. I'm just gonna go off the movie. I've only seen it once. Driven, sure. So he's got all these characteristics, but to me, I would say no. He didn't meet the criteria of actually leading other people. All right, stop. All right, what do you got?
Not a super big history buff.
I don't
So I
know.
picked the obvious George Washington.
Okay.
Certainly a driven and confident leader in the face of the revolution. He took risks with his men and army to inspire the change of breaking free from Britain. And he was, at least in my knowledge, very tactically proficient in managing his army.
Okay. So he knew that they were untrained, outgunned, outnumbered, and I think that was in New York. I think New York City was his first battle, and he withdrew. All right. So does it make him a coward? No, not at all. Right. Sending your troops off to die is not heroic, and it's not leadership. All right. So he takes them away, and then they go out to where they go in the winter? It was New Jersey.
Valley Forge.
Valley Forge, right? Trains in me. So that's an agent of change, right? I know that I don't have an army. I need to come up with a plan, problem solver, critical thinker, to turn these ragtag group of individuals into an army. How can I do that? Well, I'm going to hide out for the winter because back then we didn't fight in the winter. Let's see, proactive. He's recruiting. He's building the army. Risk taker, of course. Right? We go with George Washington. What do you do Christmas morning? Cross the Delaware. It's a hell of a risk. Hell of a risk. It's a frozen river. You could have died on the river. So what else did he do there? Driven. A lot of resilience. He was losing all kinds of battles. Just losing left and right. So the ability to keep on fighting, right? If you're losing and you are not a confident person, who's going to keep following you? Okay, so he had to have a level of confidence about him to keep the people to keep fighting with him. All right, so I don't think he's not just like a perfect being, but when you look back at the history books, he did a lot right, and the way he is portrayed is a model of what a leader would be. Right, that is how it's portrayed. So, okay. We got.
Originally, I was going to choose Lincoln. But,
Okay,
I want to make the case for Chris Kyle.
Sniper.
Yes.
Okay.
Even though he might not have had people under him, I think definitely during wartime, whatever, he embodied all of the characteristics of risk taker, very driven, resilient, all of those things. And then I think the biggest place he was a change agent was actually after he was out of the military, where he then started helping veterans with PTSD.
Yep.
And he actually ended up dying for it. One of the veterans killed him, I believe. But when he was trying to help them. So I think he became an even better leader after he was out of the military and was helping change the lives of all of these veterans for the better.
Yeah. I don't even know if he was out at that point. Was he might not. He might have still been in. But yeah, no, that's good. Again, so again, one thing to take away from this is leader. I know we're in military science is not restricted to military people only. It is not restricted to what you only do in service. Okay, there are things that you will do outside of it that encompass a societal leader. So, okay, we did this. Record and we compared. Okay, so who knows what Apollo 11 is? What's Apollo 11?
The spaceship that landed on the moon.
Uh-huh. Who knows what Apollo 13 is?
One that exploded.
The one that failed. Okay. So this is from the movie Apollo 13. I believe the oxygen tank explodes off the shuttle and that fries from the system. So that has just happened in this movie. And so now this is the guys at NASA at command, Space Command, ones that are controlling the mission from the Earth. So this is how they respond. And Ed Helms is the director of the mission, or at least in the scene, he's the leader. I haven't seen this movie in like 20 years. So.
Me, you can only give our guys 45 hours? That brings them to about there. Gentlemen, that's not acceptable.
Gene, we gotta talk about power here. Whoa, guys! Power is everything. Power is everything.
What do you mean?
Without it, they don't talk to us, they don't correct their trajectory, they don't turn the heat shield around. We gotta turn everything off. Now. They're not gonna make it to re-entry.
What do you mean everything?
With everything on, the LEM draws 60 amps. At that rate, in 16 hours, the batteries are dead, not 45. And so's the crew. We gotta get them down to 12 amps.
12 amps? How many? You can't run a vacuum cleaner on 12 amps, John.
We gotta turn off. We have to turn off the radars, cabin heater, instrument displays, the guidance computer, the whole smack.
Whoa, guidance computer. What if they need to do another burn? Gene, they won't even know which way they're pointed.
The more time we talk down here, the more juice they waste up there. I've been looking at the data for the past hour.
That's the deal?
That's the deal.
Okay, John. The minute we finish the burn, we'll power down the LEM.
All right.
Now, in the meantime, we're gonna have a frozen command module up there. In a couple days, we're gonna have to power it up using nothing but the re-entry batteries.
Never been tried before.
Hell, we've never even simulated it before, Gene.
Well, we're gonna have to figure it out. I want people in our simulators, working re-entry scenarios. I want you guys to find every engineer who designed every switch, every circuit, every transistor, and every light bulb that's up there. Then I want you to talk to the guy in the assembly line who actually built the thing. Find out how to squeeze every amp out of both of these goddamn machines. I want this marked all the way back to Earth with time to spare. We never lost an American in space. We're sure as hell not gonna lose one on my watch.
All right, so let's talk about that. Was he confident?
Mm-hmm.
Resilient? Okay, how was he open and curious?
He was opening the floor to the other scientists there for ideas.
Yep. We have driven. How about tolerant? Right. I mean, you heard the people saying you can't even run a vacuum on that, right? Okay. Well, you know what? Someone's got a different idea, right? So a little open, curious, and then you're tolerating. Self-aware. Again, he knows he doesn't have all the knowledge, so I need to go talk to everyone that does. Right? I'm aware of my own gap in knowledge. I'm self-aware enough to know that. Risk taker. Sometimes risk is kind of thrust upon you, right? I mean, you're going to space, especially in the 60s, so the whole thing was a risk. Proactive. Proactive? Was it proactive? Right? Calls a meeting. Tell them what you got. That's proactive. You could have just let them die. Could have done nothing. That's a super big problem. We already know that. Critical thing. I mean, they're rocket scientists, right? That's kind of in their job description. How about communicator? Was he a good communicator?
Yeah. He didn't control the conversation. Like, it got a little bit out of hand at times, but it quickly was brought back under control.
Okay, what is communication? An exchange of ideas, right? His ideas were clearly exchanged, right? So that's good communication. Technically proficient, again, they all knew. And then agent of change, right? He showed a sense of urgency is required, right? This happens now. He compromised, right? The guys say, let's turn everything off now. He says, okay, the other people want us to do some rocket boosters to get wherever. Here's my compromise. We're going to do the rocket booster and then turn everything off, okay? So he is adapting to the moment. All right. You guys have a good feeling on leadership? All right. So we have 30 more minutes. We're going to switch over to closing you down. And go to land now. Okay, you guys all did this last year. Have you done NTRT? All right, this is me a refresher. We're going to walk through it. Have you seen Band of Brothers yet? Have you seen Band of Brothers? You've never seen Band of Brothers?
Never.
Okay, watch Band of Brothers. All right, so because we're kind of running out of time, I'm just going to tell you. This is Captain Sobel. He's a jerk. Everyone hates Captain Sobel. He gets lost. They mess with him because they don't like him. That kind of goes back into our leadership piece. But the point is he gets lost and he doesn't know how to find his way out. All right. So land nav is important because if you get lost, you look bad, your troops will lose respect for you. Just straight up. So the joke that they're going to tell you for the next 5 years of your life is you can't spell lost without LT. Have you guys heard that one yet? Okay. So you're going to hear that the entire time you're a lieutenant, and it's going to annoy you, and you're going to say, shut up, I can do land nav better than you. Anyway, so you can watch the series. It's a great series. Absolutely recommend it. Okay, so previously you should have learned about the margins. You're going to have a map. What's in the margins, right? What's in the legend, the key, right? What's not on the map itself. Topographic symbols, what some of the colors mean, some of the terrain features, locating grid coordinates. These are specific to military maps. Identify methods of expressing direction. And then you're going to be able to define declination, conversion, an intersection, resection, and a modified resection. So that's what we're going over. This is, you'll find this in the margins. This is going to be your declination diagram. What is a declination diagram?
Shows you how far off the compas's north would be from the north shown on the map.
Right. I'm going to shoot a grid, and it's directly north of me, but the compass is going to be pulling me 3 degrees to the left, or the west, right? Or it's going to be pulling me 3 degrees to the east, all right? So because of that, I have to shoot a different angle so that I walk in the correct direction I want. Right? That's what your declination diagram is going to show you. Okay, what's the scale according to this?
1 in 50,000.
What does that mean? Every grid
is
50,000
meters,
right? So if you have a 250,000 size scale, that's massive. That'd be like you're just looking at North America, right? Very imprecise, right? Precision, not precise, right? This would be, if you're on your map, this is literally going to be how far 5,000 meters is, 5,000 yards, 3 miles, 3 nautical miles. A nautical mile is longer than a normal mile because of the waves, right? Curvature of the earth and water, the way it moves. So, anyways, so what you would do is you would just take a ruler, a piece of string, a paper, and you would know that according to your map, this is 5,000 meters on your specific map, right? That's going to be a scale. It's going to tell you how big that is. Then you're going to have contour intervals. These are going to show 20, 10 meters. And those are the lines we're going to get to. If you don't remember, they're the lines that show elevation change. Right? The closer they are together, the more the elevation is changing. Further out, the more flat it is. Yeah, that's what contours are. And then your grid reference box. Okay, so these go all around the world. Starting at the prime meridian, North Pole, I believe, would be like AA, and it goes all the way around to ZZ, and then it goes all the way down, right? So this EH, FH, EG, FG, that is going to be somewhere on the global map, and those are going to be the grid zones you're working with. Okay? Here's your legend. Map agency would be who made the map. Apparently, the map of reason was made by these guys. Normally, these I'm gonna say normally. Almost always, this is a contracted element. They are usually not going to be green suiters, right? They're going to be civilians. We, the Army, would pay someone to go out and survey the land. They're going to write the contour lines down. They're going to figure out how much that magnetic declination is off. That is not going to show you the entire world because it's a big old world and we don't have people just walk around. But again, military, like, hey, we're going to operate in Quantico, so we're going to send a team of people out and they're going to find everything on that geographic location. Right? So just where it comes from, this would be U.S. Army Sustainable Range Program. All right, what does black mean on a map?
Man-made features.
Such as?
Buildings, roads.
Okay. Red, brown?
Cultural features.
Okay. What else?
Contour lines.
Contour lines, okay? When you do night land nav, you will not use a white light. You will use a red light, okay? That's because when you use white light, there's something in your eye, I forget what it's called, but when it's dark out, it populates your eye and then you get to see at night. That takes about 20 minutes for a normal eye to be able to see at night. If you put a white light, it burns away whatever is going on in your whatever chemistry is going on in your eye, and you can't see at night anymore. So it takes 20 minutes to build up. So when you use a red light, you don't destroy that, and you're able to see at night. All right, so that's why you use red lights at night, and the red-brown shows up better in a red light than a normal black would, right? Because you're not allowed to use white light. What's blue? Water. What's green? Vegetation. So if you're in Iraq, how much green is on the map? Not a whole lot. You might get some oases, whatever it is. Brown? Contour lines, easily readable in red light. Relief features. Normally it's old. Not the map itself, but it might be an older feature. Older edition. Red? What's red for?
Populated areas. I think in Quantico, I think like one of the basic camps or whatever was red.
Yeah, Q-Town, right?
Yeah.
Main roads, red, they stand out. Boundaries. What boundaries? What boundary would we be talking about?
Boundaries like a range.
Could be a range. Could be a unit AOR, right? This is what, like, 3rd Brigade, they're going to get this area, and their boundary is going to be in red. And then it's like a division. So on the boundary line, we'll go into at some point, we'll go into terms and graphs, things FM2, which is going to show like, hey, this line is with an X in it is going to be a division line. All right. So then you have other, occasionally used, sporadic. Okay. There's a church. There's a cross on top. I don't know. I should look it up, but I don't know if like mosques or like a Buddhist temple has a different symbol than a church. But we're going with, this is going to be a church. It's going to be a religious building. Here's a school. It's got a flag. Here's some tanks. Benchmarks. This is going to be like no location. It's going to be clearly identified. It's going to be something specific. The Washington Monument is going to be located and it's going to be named. Minor quarry. Why do you want to know if there's a quarry? Can't go through a quarry. Everyone knows what a quarry is? What a quarry is? Okay. What about a mine? Why do I want to know where a mine is?
Could be explosives.
Because explosives. Enemy troops could hide there, right? The tunnel networks. So mines. You got different types of buildings and structures, the size, spot elevation, railroad track, double railroad track, maybe triple, multiple. The cemetery. All right, what's our phrase for this for a 5? Hidden Valley Ranch Salad Dressing. You guys remember that one? Remember that ranch salad? Okay, those are 5 features. 3 minors, draw spur cliff, and then 2 supplemental is a cut and a fill. What's a cut? I'm gonna go over it, but if you can take it on.
Cut is a man-made.
Yep. What's a fill?
The opposite.
The opposite. All right, we're gonna show a picture of it. Okay, this is your ridge. All right, contour lines. They're getting closer together, right? And this is your ridge. Right? It's just a ridge. You could walk along this. All right. Difference between a ridge and a ridge line. What do you got? What's the difference between a ridge and a ridge line? It's just longer. It's a lot of ridges, right? It's a line, right? This would be a big boundary. All right. And you can see it here, right? We had a mountain, climbing up, and now we're on top of the ridge, right? Mostly flat, couple of hills, but maybe just be up here. Same elevation most of the way. Hill, there you go. It's just kind of a circle. Lots of circles, you got a hill. This is what a hill looks like. You don't know what a hill looks like? There you go. Why is this called a saddle?
That's how saddles are shaped.
It's like a horse saddle, right? It's a horse saddle. There you go. Right here, elevation, flat, more elevation, right? Hill, hill. This one has this would be a cliff, right? Cliff, and then you go past through. Here's your valley. Valleys are usually accompanied by rivers, usually, right? The river over a million years carves out through the mountains, and then you get a valley. Okay, you can see mountain, flat, mountain, right? Here would be another valley. And the whole thing's a valley, right? Why do we care about depressions? What's significant about a depression?
They're hard to go through because it just drops off.
Drops off. It doesn't have to be significant. It's not like it's a cliff normally, but it could also be kind of like swampy or quicksandy. You can trip into this, so it's an important feature that you don't want to drive through. All right. You can see these are on the left side. These are not contour lines, right? These are contour lines. These are different. So you know it's a depression, right? Just lines on the inside. Okay, so now we get into our minors. Here's a draw. Okay. So when you look at this, it'll be mountaintop or hilltop or ridge top, right? Here's another one. So if you were following this valley, this river, and this could be large, right? It could be large. This picture is obviously a small area. You know what's happening there. But yeah, you could funnel into this, and then you get trapped, right? So that's a draw in. It'll draw you in. There you go. It has no outlet. Let's say that. There's no outlet out of here. You have to climb up the walls and go back where you came from. The spur is the opposite. So this is the draw, right? This is the draw, the low line in between the two spurs. You're climbing up this mountain. You probably don't want to go up this. This would be an easier walk. An easier climb would be on the spur. And then your cliff. You all know what a cliff is. I see a red line here. What's this red line? It's a boundary. Don't go up the cliff. Into the water, right? Boundary. The boundary's there for whatever reason, and for this reason it happens to be a cliff. You might, these are super close contour lines, right? They're super close. If this was like 1,000-foot cliff, would there be 1,000 contour lines? Like, no, right? And that's why you put an actual elevation change. Like you say, hey, this one's 256 meters high, which doesn't look like, maybe this would be feet, and then this would be at 10 feet, right? So you would actually label that in some way if it was that significant. All right. Any questions on features, geographic features? All right. So now we get into, this is on the wrong spot. We'll connect this. All right, here's your cut. Like you said, man-made. We had to, okay, there you go. So this is clearly used to be a mountain, and now it's not a mountain anymore, and we have a road through. That's a cut. Here's a fill. You would do a fill, maybe there's a high water table here, so when it rains, this is all water on top, and you don't want that to spill into the roads. So you build this up so the road is higher. You can also see this as like a levee system or a canal bank. Right? All right, contour lines. Of course, there are contour lines. Supplementary, I believe this is like the halfway, supplementary intermediate. Index would be labeled at the elevation. This is, whatever this is 400. Again, feet or meters. I think it's feet. Dark black, dotted line, or let's say bolded black line, right? That's the major one. All right, protractor. Have you guys done the protractors? All right. This is called the index. So when you plot your points, whatever point you're plotting from will be in the center, right? You're going to put that on the center of your point. You will orient this to the map north to south, okay? So if you're on a square map, this should be parallel, right? You will use this square if you're using a 50,000 meter map. You're going to use this square if you're using 100,000. And then this square is for the 1,000 to 10,000. This is going to be your most precise one. Okay. Right? The map should be zoomed in at that point. So these are mils. Okay. 6,400 mils. How many degrees are there? 360. Is anyone trying to do field artillery? Okay, you won't ever deal with mils. You would give your point to, you're calling for fire, you give your point. They would convert the degrees into mils, so you just don't have to worry about it, but that's who's using mils because it's more precise, right? 6,400 is twice, less twice, but almost twice as precise as 360 degrees, right? So they want to be more precise. 0 points, so this is when you're plotting. You would start here. Anything else on here? Nothing else on here that we're not going to get to later. You use the correct scale, okay? So if you're looking on your map and the grid square is, this big, you're obviously using the wrong triangle, right? So use the correct triangle for the grid square that you got. Right? It will be very obvious that you're using the wrong triangle because it will either be too large for the grid square or too small. Okay, that's the correct scale. Place the horizontal scale on the grid line with the 0 mark at the lower left hand. Slide the scale right until you hit the vertical point. So I know where my vertical point is. I'm going to start here and I'm going to slide to the right. And then when I hit it, I'm going to stop. All right. We'll do that practical exercise. That'll make sense when we do it. And then you read right, right? So you move right and then you go up. In practice, you read right, okay, then up. So right is your x-axis. Hopefully you guys looked at geometry or physics. This is your x-axis. This is your y-axis, all right? So when you read right, your first 2, 3, or 4 numbers will be your x-axis, and then your north and south will be your y-axis, and those will be your second digits. This is, how accurate would this be? If I put you on this number, how close are you? 10 meters, 100 meters, or 1,000 meters? With a 4-digit grid.
Meters?
Nope. What do you think? 4 digits, is that accurate?
No.
3,000. 4 digits will get you in 1,000 meters of your point. Very inaccurate. Who would use that? A nuclear bomb. No one else, right? Not close at all. All right. Here's your 0 mark. Right, it's that. So when you're moving, let's see if they show it on the next slide. They do. Okay, so now we're at our 6-digit grid. Where's this 8? This is 8 digits. Haha, okay, 8 digits. So we know we're going to the right to 0, 3, 0, 5. That's not that far right. We're halfway to the 1. Okay, you're gonna eyeball it. So we've moved past this line half a notch, and that's 0, 3, 0, 5. Get it? So we put that there, and then we're gonna go up without moving this protractor. You just go up to 8060, okay? So 78, 79, 8. 81 is too high. And so I'm going to the 6. There you go. This is my second point. All right. How do we express our direction? So we talked about degrees, talked about mils, we don't do gradients. We'll do it. Baselines, you got true north. What's true north? What's true north?
Essentially the northernmost point on the Earth.
North Pole, right? Yes. We're saying all this. Okay. True north. That's if you had a globe, you put your finger on the top of the globe, that's true north. Why is that different than magnetic north?
Because the magnetic poles shift and move around.
The magnetic north is technically not on the top of the Earth. All right, what's grid north?
Where the map is pointing.
Where the map points. The next one. There you go. So north would be up here, straight up north. Okay. Your magnetic north could pull you somewhere left or right. Right. I'm left of puberty, sorry. Maybe left or right. And then again, your true north would just be what the Earth looks like from space. What's an azimuth?
There'll be a line that you're plotting on the map.
It's the degree you're going to walk to. Right? Is that on the next one? There you go. This would be an azimuth, right? I'm going from A to B. What direction am I heading? What degree? The azimuth. What's my heading? I'm walking somewhere. What's a reverse or a back azimuth?
Yeah, -1.
The opposite, right? It's where I just came from. How do I get that number?
Take that -180.
180 or plus 180, right? When do you add 180?
When it's easier to do that, you wouldn't have to, like, if yours below 180.
If you're below 180, you add 180 to it. So if I want to shoot a back azimuth from 5, I would add 180. The back azimuth of that would be 185. If I was at 184, and I want to go back azimuth, I would subtract, giving me the 4. And then grid azimuth, as you said, it's what you plot on the point. Okay, the grid azimuth is the number you get before you apply the declination to it. Let's see where we're at. Okay. So the way this guy plotted, pay attention to the mouse, so you can see it, right? Okay. So this guy, what angle is he getting here? Looks like a 75, right? Yeah, 75. Why is that wrong? Because, no. Because the mouse is where he plotted from, right? He plotted from this area, right? He needs to plot from the center. So he needed to drag this to the right, like a full inch, whatever. He needed to drag this a full right so that the X would be in the center, and then he would get the correct 57. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to apply your 2 points. You're going to use a ruler or this protractor side. You're going to draw your line, and then you're going to move the protractor into the center to get your actual azimuth heading. Then you apply your declination, and now you've plus or minus whatever that is, and now I know when I shoot my compass, that's the direction I'm going to go. These are 4 things that we talked about. Run out of time here. Okay. If is this on here somewhere? There you go. Okay, so this only applies to America. There's always going to be some sort of magnetic pull unless you're in Florida, Alabama. It's Alabama, I think. It's Georgia. It's Alabama. So you'll have a 0 if you're in Alabama. Good for you. Anyway, this only applies in America because if you're in China, China's going to have different pull, right? It's not going to have this. Again, when you go to that theater, you go to Germany, it's going to have its own. So when we say there's a westerly declination or an easterly declination, that's really applying to America because we know that it's pulling. The closer you are to the poles, the more it's going to pull, right? So you're further north in Maine and Washington, so it's a 20. And then if you're more southerly, California, even though it's still in the same longitude, because it's latitude, it's got less pull, right? It's just how it works out. East declination, it's going to pull you to the right, so you need to subtract if it's an east, and if it's a west, you need to add. I believe that's on here. Let's say that. I know it said it somewhere. Compass holding technique, we'll bring compasses next week. You can do it. When you shoot your point with a compass, you're going to do it at your eye. Normally there's going to be like a tree. You say I'm going to shoot at 45-degree angle. There's a tree straight in front of me, 200 yards. I'm going to walk to the tree. You're counting your steps, and then you can just walk at your waist, right? You don't just continue walking with it at your eye. You'll just walk at your waist. You'll get to that tree, and then you'll shoot another point, and just keep going from there, knowing your pace count. When you guys do your FTX, we'll do more examples, but that's generally what you're going to do. And bringing azimuths. Here you go. It says okay, yeah. So if it's easterly, you're going to subtract the GM angle, and if it's west, you're going to add it, because again, that's the way it's pulling you. So you're trying to overcome that. Back azimuth, we said. What is a grid azimuth for these 2 points? So we'll do this during the practical exercise. You're going to plot this, you draw your line, and you're going to tell me. You're going to get that number, so maybe you can memorize it. So we got 48, but then because where he is, he had to subtract his declination, and that's where he got 27 degrees. So that's what he's literally going to walk while watching his compass. Watch 27 degrees. Go for 141. Then we need to get to, okay, intersections. Okay. So an intersection is when I know where I am, I know where the other point is, and I'm going to draw 2 lines I want to find out where the unknown point is. So I'm going to draw 2 straight lines from those 2 points, and where they intersect and cross, that's my intersection. Okay. When I know 2 points, that's the intersection. And it was on here. There you go. Okay. I know point A, I know point B. I've drawn 2 lines because I want to get to this unknown point, and where it intersects, called an intersection. The opposite is I don't know where I am, but I know that the Washington Monument is here, and I know the Capitol building is here. So by using math and saying I know how far I am from here, I now figure out where I am. Got it? So intersection I know, resection I don't know. Modified resection is when you are on like a road or a known location. So I know I'm somewhere on this road. That's why it's modified. You have a little bit more accuracy where you are. And so we'll do this next week. We'll just do the real examples, practical exercises. Going through this. Anything else that we need to talk about? Go. Okay, so this is what they're showing here. We have 3 minutes. What they're showing is you're trying to get from A to B, but you're not allowed to walk straight for whatever reason. So you have to, let's say, walk around for whatever reason. So you're going to plot. Okay, spin around. So I know A to B is 2,000 meters because I looked on the scale. I took my ruler, right, and then I moved my ruler down to the scale. So that was 2,000. But now I want to not follow the road, or I guess one. So I'm going to walk to here. Here's point 1. Here's point 2, and then I get to point 3. So I need to mark on. Probably do it on a piece of paper. And you're going to say, okay, I walk this far, that far, but then I turn. So leaving this on the ruler, I guess he's trying to go to here. And then he's trying to come back to here and come back. Okay? So he's adding up the points. This would probably be the most accurate way to do it. An easier way would if you just use like a string. You could just, have a string, like a shoelace, trace this mark, and then, then you stretch it out so you know how much it is. This is a way to do it with a ruler on paper. And then you add all those points up, and this guy got 3,400 meters. All right. Refresher for you guys. Y'all learned this last year? Okay, so we'll do the practical exercise. It'll make sense. Any other questions? No? Yeah?
Do you have any advice if we have a map that's not to scale?
Get a new map. I guess to which scale? Like if it's just totally wrong map, like someone just printed off of Google Maps or something, then you can't do this.
The example I'm thinking of is the last FTX, when we had the normal military maps, but they were printed with the margins slightly off or whatever it was, so that the 9 lined up with the 10, and it wasn't, yes, ever so slightly.
So they had a real map, and basically they just Xeroxed it, and so it came out not fitted, or maybe they tried to shrink to fit a PDF.
Some people have read maps. I blame my inability to find a point on that.
All right, what I would argue, let's see if we can get to a normal map without a protractor. Okay, so it's wrong, but the scale is going to also shrink with the map, so you're going to get your correct distance. The problem is your degrees are going to probably be off, right, because it's not exact. In this case, depending on how far you're walking, let's say that we knew we wanted to shoot. Where's the hilltop one? Where's the hilltop one? Back to the hilltop. Okay, we know this guy wants to shoot a 48-degree azimuth to get here. I would, and I know it's wrong because it's stretched wrong, I would probably intentionally shoot left or right of this. Okay, so instead of shooting a 48, I would intentionally, and again, if you're only going like half mile, it's probably fine. If you're going super long distance, then those gaps come off and on. I would probably shoot a 50 so that you know that you're going to be south of this. You know your pace count's going to be generally getting you to the area, and then you just can turn left. Like if you're walking this way, you turn left. I know my point's over there. All right. So if it's wrong, that'd be my advice to you. Just intentionally know, because it could have shrunk the other way as well. And let's say you line up just perfectly. Now you don't. You're going to know you're here, and the point could be anywhere around you. So sometimes, or another thing, you could shoot what you think is right, and you just stop short, so you know it's just in front of you somewhere. And then once you do that, so the technique would be, you're going to do a spiral pattern. All right, did they talk to you guys about that? So I walk to my point where I think it is. I don't see the point. I know I'm in the area. I know I'm close. So I'm going to maybe put something on the ground to mark it. It could be this water bottle I'm holding. Okay, now I'm going to walk in a circle, spiral, until I find the point. All right, it's not the most accurate, but it'll get the job done. It's crude, but it'll get you to find the point. It's just for land nav specifically to get through it. Yeah, if it's wrong, it's wrong. You know, get a new map, otherwise it'll get you in trouble. Sorry that happened to you. I mean, Quantico's got. Yeah, so it's just someone just printed it, right? They went to PDF and printed it wrong. But again, I say all this saying, once you get to the real force, you're never going to do this. You'll go, if you go infantry, you'll do this in Bible, you'll do it at Ranger School, but you're going to get to a real unit, and we all have GPS. So, it's nice to know, but you're going to have GPS. That's just what it is. This is useful to know, so let me kill the feed, and we'll talk about other things.